I bet the people working at Ubisoft have been crossing their fingers, hoping that the backlash would die down surrounding not only Star Wars Outlaws, but more specifically Assassin's Creed Shadows. They have faced such a massive amount of backlash because of the decisions that they made with this game, but now Japanese players are excoriating Ubisoft after they apologized for creating concern within the Japanese community for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I think Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to face a mega boycott. I think there are going to be tons of people who are going to refuse to play this, and of course, Assassin's Creed is already a big franchise, and there will be people who will support it no matter what, but judging by the backlash that has surrounded this title, and we're still months away from release, I just don't see this going well for them. I don't see a way that they can shift the backlash to something positive. I don't see it like a simple way that they could change character designs, that they could change the story, that they could change elements of this game that would make people happy. And now, of course, Japanese players are continuing to speak up about this title. We have seen so many Japanese gamers talk over the past couple of weeks about how disappointed they are in Ubisoft. We saw a petition launched for Ubisoft to either delay this game and change things around or straight up cancel it, but now Japanese gamers are still not happy with it, especially after Ubisoft's recent statement. It says, of course, Ubisoft, through the official Assassin's Creed account on X, had stated just a few days ago to our esteemed Japanese community, a message from the Shadows development team. First, we want to express our heartfelt thanks for all of your support for the Assassin's Creed series, which has now had its own history spanning almost 20 years. I did talk about this statement in another video, but basically it's blah blah blah. We're not actually sorry. Please swipe your credit card and pre-order our game, because these individuals are not genuinely apologetic as to the disrespect they have shown Japanese culture. They want to come out and make these statements so that hopefully people will no longer be angry with them, but that's just not going to happen. They would again have to delay or cancel this game for people to forgive them, but they did try to put out this statement thinking it was going to go over well, and it didn't. But there is one specific section that has really upset people where they admit they've taken creative liberties, and this is ultimately a work of fiction inspired by real historical events and figures. And if they had said this from the get-go, there wouldn't be as much backlash surrounding this game, because they originally tried to pass it off as very historically accurate. They talked about how they were hiring cultural consultants and historians and researchers, but now when they've gotten caught red-handed only using sources like Thomas Lockley, who is putting out false information to push the narratives that Ubisoft wants to push, they've had to backtrack and say, well, it actually is fiction, just inspired by real history. They got caught, and they are now trying to cover their asses. They are running damage control, but it's not going to work. Japanese players have reacted to this statement by further calling out Ubisoft. One user wrote, I think the story about Yasuke should just be considered fiction based on him. The issue of historical retelling is no longer a Ubisoft issue, but a Lockley issue. However, Yasuke is no longer the problem. The plagiarism of materials from manga, organization, and cultural heritage sites, the misrepresentation of Japanese history, and the misrepresentation of Japanese as Chinese, among other things, shows disregard for Japan. The problem is these, they thought that promoting this game by using a sword from One Piece, Zoro's sword from One Piece, and then putting it on a stand that was $25 from Amazon was going to work. They really thought that people were not going to call these things out or notice these things. They were buying geisha statues from Amazon for like $30. They thought that that was going to go over well with people. And of course, it hasn't. And Yasuke, correct, isn't the only problem with this. We have the disrespect for Japanese history. We also have the inaccurate architecture. I had to talk about this more recently, but Ubisoft Japan actually had to apologize for using Japanese reenactment groups banner without permission in the game, and they only responded to it because they were being threatened with a lawsuit. Like, they can claim all they want that they talked to historians and cultural consultants, but we can tell those people either did not do their job or, of course, they're fake historians. And someone like Thomas Lockley is most certainly a fake historian, but it is good for average people to see the bullshit that Ubisoft is doing because I mean, it's clear as day, right? I could list to you the Amazon listing for this stand. You can see tons of reference photos of this katana in One Piece. Like, it's not small mistakes that they're making with this, it's massive mistakes. Another user posted, thanks to your company, I was able to become more aware of historical changes being made by the forces of globalization against Japan. We do see a lot of companies that are focused on making their product appeal to as many people as possible, global audiences, as they love to call them. But that never works out because by trying to make something that appeals to everyone, you're really making something that appeals to no one and is offending individuals. People have asked for years now for a Assassin's Creed game set in Japan. They had such a clear opportunity to make a boatload of cash, and instead of doing simple things like respecting Japanese culture, like trying to tell a story that wasn't complete fan fiction, they could have made a lot of money if they just did things that did not come across as blatantly disrespectful, but that's all they did with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it is so sad to see because I've loved Assassin's Creed in the past, and a lot of people were happy with Mirage. A lot of people did not hate Valhalla. These are games that made it look like they were trying to veer in a better direction than they had before that with games like Odyssey that I know were pretty scrutinized, even though generally enjoyed. But they just decided to throw all of that away to be able to, yes, ultimately put a black lead in their game. And if they had just put Yasuke as a companion or an NPC in the game, and they tried to at least keep his story a little bit closer in line to the information we have, it would have been a better situation. Again, wouldn't have been as highly criticized. But because they decided to take from what we know about this individual, he was more of a retainer than a full-blown samurai, and they decided to shift it into he's a full-blown samurai. It hasn't gone over well with basically anybody at this point. And I understand that Assassin's Creed is fictional, yes, but this is the first time they are putting a historical figure as a playable character. That right there is extremely important, and why they had to get Yasuke right. They had to get him as close to the person that we knew he was in real life. Again, there's not a boatload of information on him, but enough to go off of. That's all they had to do, was at least make it seem like they were trying to be respectful, and they didn't do that with this game. So of course, Japanese players are continuing to absolutely roast Ubisoft, saying you guys know absolutely nothing and you are blatantly disrespecting our culture. So it will be, interesting going forward to see if the Japanese continue to attack this game. If, of course, we see massive boycotts, only time will tell, but for now, that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.